I was reading about the Mayans recently.
Yeah, I like that.
Dude, they used to build temples in the ocean. So it would be like a stone's throw away. Like they would say that's how far. Their units of measurement, they would measure the depth of holes by, I forget the word, but it was like the average height of a man.
Okay.
Like, it's 7 Alatos deep. And they would just be like, it's like 6 guys deep.
Yeah. That's good.
It's really nice. But yeah, they would build these like temples out like, 10 feet out in the ocean out of limestone. I don't know how the fuck they did this. And then
they were wasting a lot of time.
I think they really were.
They should have been focused on other things.
They could have figured some other stuff out
instead of temples in the ocean.
Well, they
were to really focus.
They were just like cutting people's heads off and letting the blood drip down the steps. They would like have like a cool statue of a snake and be like, this thing's. It would be like a snake eating a lion. Like, we got to get some blood on.
We're gonna have to cut some people's heads off.
We got to cut some people's heads off.
Who's that village next door that we hate?
Dude, yeah.
Let's sacrifice those fuckers. They'll never join up with anybody that shows up. They'll never finally join up with
I didn't know there was like 3 or 4 unsuccessful expeditions before Cortez. Like a couple dudes rolled up and got fucking smoked by the Mayans.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they'd roll up like 40 deep and be like, come here, guys. And like, these dudes would just go bonkers. And they're like, we had the weaponry. We thought they were like, we could get them, but they would just, we were firing shit off our boats at them. And they were like, they just kept sending guys. And then it would take your boy and they would fatten him up. So the dudes who were in POW can't POV
girlfriends.
Yeah, I know.
What are these girlfriends?
They would capture you and you would just be getting fed nonstop. And then you'd slowly be like, shit, they would eat one of your boys. And you go, oh no, dude. I thought they were treating me like a king over here. And they would just like have dudes they captured and be like, he's looking pretty good. He's getting pretty good.
These guys, no offense to any Mayans listening, but these guys deserved what they had in common. Yeah, I didn't know they got the Spanish got crushed a couple times.
It was like they would launch these like expeditions and just end up on the shore, and it would just be cannibals fucking freaking out at you as soon as you rolled up. They'd be blowing darts, fucking throwing shit at you.
But that's
Just it was like they were like more explorer types. They would hang out, roll up, and be like, "Oh, this is sick." And then sometimes
a small amount took down everybody.
Oh yeah, Cortez apparently. I don't know if there was multiple Cortezes, but this was his name was Cortez. I forget his first name. But like after like 2 or 3 dudes rolled up and got kind of what for, he was like, fuck this, and brought like 11 ships and 500 dudes. And then he showed up and they just thought like, it wasn't even just about like his beard. I forget what he rolled up and he took the whole village. He took everything and then he found it was like a nobleman's wife, one of the Lord's wives. And he was like, they plundered everything and he was like, go back and tell them like, we're going to give you back all your stuff. And the villagers all came back and the Spaniards were like, here's all your shit. We're not trying to fuck with you. We're just trying to we're trying to chill with you guys. And they were like, fuck, this dude rules. And I think eventually he fucking crushed all of them.
Yeah, I forget. It's the beginning of Guns, Germs, and Steel, which is pretty funny. It's like that. They just rolled in on horses and shit and they just opened fire.
Yeah.
Everybody started spazzing.
Yeah,
they immediately captured the king.
Yeah, well, that was like, when they told him,
might have
like,
been the Aztecs.
It was one of them where they brought him in. It was just him and like 6 dudes in the king's like inner sanctum. They were like, dude, you guys are so cool. Your beards are so fucking sick. And then they were like, yeah, cool, man.
yeah, that's awesome. You want to see our swords?
The one Cortez I heard, he like was kind of chilling with them and, getting down. Eventually, they gave him a Mayan bride. And he like, that was like his lady. He started like sailing with her and she would like, I don't know if it was the Cortez the killer or just another Cortez. But yeah, the flag was sick, dude. It was just the cross. They'd be like, all who worship this symbol, and have faith in it, and we will conquer. They would just fly in. This Cortez was a big missionary. He would go in their temples and just knock their statues down and be like, you guys gotta praise the Virgin Mary. And apparently a lot of them were like, for sure. And when they would go, other Spaniards would pass by some of the villages on boats. They would just go, Maria, Maria.
Nice.
They loved Mary, dude.
That's good.
Yeah, it was pretty chill.
Yeah, I guess you'd have to kind of believe them. You know what I mean? If you spent your whole life watching everybody get their head cut off and you're throwing rocks in the ocean to try to build a temple.
Yeah.
Somebody shows up on a fucking spaceship.
Someone shows up on a giant, 11 giant boats and they ride horses off the boat onto the beach. You're just like, bro.
Yeah, I'm with them. I trust them.
What's your story? And they're like, no, dude, and they were just like, that's so fucking sick. Because their guy, Quetzalcoatl, was like their big, that was like their big dude. Dude, you know what his name was originally? Cuchulainn.
Ooh.
just like the Irish mythological guy, Cuchulainn.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, kind of nuts. Remember that lady I tried to book for the podcast who was like
Yes.
an ancient alien specialist? She wrote a whole book about how the Mayans were Irish. And
We was Mayans.
he was Mayans too. He was
Yes. I knew we was Mayans.
But yeah, I'm gonna keep reading that book. It's pretty tight. It was written by this guy Diego Landa, who's just a missionary who was documenting like just kind of how they got down, and they just kind of like studied outer space really hard, and then they just like cut people's heads off and just chilled. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But yeah, they were.
I wish I knew more about it. I never really got into the Aztecs or the Mayans. The Incas, I was big for a little. I like the Incas.
I never know where the fuck they live. The Mayans were the Yucatan.
The Incas are like Peru,
Okay, so they're in Peru.
the Andes Mountains.
And where were the Aztecs? They were in Mexico.
The
right?
Aztecs were Mexico as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they do have stuff like
And
there
I think
were,
the Mayans and Aztecs didn't really overlap.
but apparently
be.
there were Mexicans that weren't Mayans that would come down. They would battle the Mayans a lot too. They were battling the lads like way back when.
Who knows?
But yeah, it's pretty cool. The Spaniards would come down and like get in a fight, and they like would name the places. The one bay is just called like the Malo Pilar, which just means the bad fight. It was really sick.
They were city states.
Sometimes.
I see. The Mayans were independent city states.
Yeah,
It wasn't like one empire.
No, they weren't like a group of people. They were just kind of a bunch of
They
different.
flourished until 900 AD, so like 500 years before the Spanish got there.
Yeah, but then I think they just became
They're
like
probably just chilling.
they're just chillers. They had one central town. They all like joined in allegedly after fucking Quetzalcoatl like showed them how to get down, and they all like hung out. But they would always be three brothers who were chill, and then like they would just turn evil and kill each other every time. Three brothers, they'd start a podcast, turn on each other.
Hey,
It would just be three dudes being like, "Yeah, we're in charge of all this," and then one day one would be like, "I want 75 fucking wives."
it's usually how it goes. Yeah, Hernan Cortez.
Yeah. Dude was the bro. I didn't get to the part where it was written by the Spaniards, so the guy was like, just like, yeah, dude, he was pretty chill. Everyone liked him. I don't know what else happened. It's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had a guy there was like two kind of like bishop type dudes, and one guy was like, we have to torture these guys because they keep worshiping snakes and cutting people's heads off. So we got to torture them to like, it's the only way these guys, and the guy's like, we can't torture him. And then one dude, he's like, he came to convince the guy, like, we shouldn't be doing this. And the guy's like, no, watch this. And just like torture the guy in front of him. He's like, it works. We're like, fuck it. He's like pulling a dude's teeth out of his head. Like, see?
See, he doesn't like it.
Now he'll do whatever I want.
He doesn't like it at all. Now he's really afraid of us.